What is the best writing routine? I made myself a spreadsheet. I've got some data. The average number of hours of writing per day for Project Spiegel Tent, the novel that I'm currently working on, my Frankenstein's monster of a perfect writing routine. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Now if you've been following my videos for a while, you might be familiar with the series that I have where I try out the writing routines or the creative routines of famous writers. I've done so many writing routines on my channel. In fact, I've done 13 in total, which is a fun number. So I think it would be really lovely to sit down, reflect on all the things that I've learned, pull up the stats, analyze the routines, what do these authors have in common, examine exactly what it is I've learned from trying out these routines. I've done 2 a.m. writing routines, cafe hopping writing routines, library writing routines. One routine I got up at 4 a.m. and one routine I stayed up until 4 a.m. And I feel like I've gained so much from trying out these different writing routines. I've learned a lot about myself as a writer, so I'd like to reflect on all of that learning today. Also, I'm going to put all of this together and create my own Frankenstein's monster of a writing routine and try that out for you and vlog that day. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. So what were our key findings and what did I learn from trying out all of these routines? I have actually made myself a spreadsheet. I've got some data, I've got some averages, and I want to share some of my key findings with you. Where are my glasses? So the earliest writing routine that we tried out was Octavia E. Butler's writing routine. She started work at 2 o'clock in the morning so that she could write before she went off to her factory work.
Science fiction was fun because I discovered that I enjoyed reading popular science and I really enjoyed just speculating.
The latest was of course Brandon Sanderson, who tends to sleep until noon. He works from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. He takes a break and then works from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m.
And I found for me about 4 hours gives me a good 2 hours of really efficient writing time in the middle. And so I try to schedule my life around having 2 of those.
On average, these authors, the 13 that I tried, this is not a good data set. Like, to be clear, like I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the 6 months of statistics that I did at university. This is just for fun. This is absolutely just for fun. We know that the average author is working full-time and then writing around their full-time work. Whereas only one author whose routine I tried on this list, Octavia Butler, had a full-time job as a part of her writing routine. But anyway, I digress. That's my little sandbag for my very, very flawed data set. The average earliest time that these authors are waking up is 8:10 in the morning. On average, they're doing 1.46 writing sessions per day. And so most of the time, one writing session per day and then like having lunch, going off and doing other things. Sayaka Murata, who tends to cafe hop between different locations, will have 3 or 4 different writing sessions throughout the day, bookended by, of course, her moving to a different cafe.
家だと全く集中ができないので、私はすぐ眠ってしまうから、夢の世界に入ってしまうから、外に出て小説を書きます。
The average number of hours of writing per day was 5 hours and 47 minutes. However, this average is very much thrown out by the fact that Hayao Miyazaki works 12 hours a day. And so if we cast away that particular outlier just for a moment, the average amount of writing time per day is 5 hours and 16 minutes. A lot of these authors deliberately factored exercise into their writing routines. 53% of the authors whose routines I tried specifically mentioned some kind of walking, running, swimming, push-ups. I had to do push-ups for the Dan Brown routine. Oh no. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 13 authors are actively doing exercise as part of their writing routines. But I just generally find it really nice that so many of these authors are factoring walking time particularly into their routines. Charles Dickens, for example, goes for a 3-hour walk every day. Stephen King goes for an hour-long walk every day. Haruki Murakami runs 10 kilometers every day. And he also swims, what is it, 1,500 meters? Sometimes he does both. I don't want to live like that. I think that would be bad for my psyche to force myself to do that much exercise every day, and also maybe like my knees. No. Before I jump into the nitty gritty of specifically what worked for me and what I learned, I do want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Notion. I am so incredibly excited to be working with Notion again. I love Notion to absolute bits. I use it every day and it's absolutely vital not only to my creative processes, but just to keeping my life organized in general. At this point, I genuinely don't know how I'd live without it. Like, I use Notion for all of my work stuff. I use it for travel, for recipes, for notes, for just about anything that I need in terms of digital organization. Notion is the perfect tool to streamline your life in 2025 and to keep all of your tasks, projects, notes, and ideas in one place. It's especially perfect for creative people and for visual learners because it's so incredibly customizable, really, really quick and easy to use, and also just beautiful. Love having these lovely digital spaces where I actually enjoy spending my time. I have used so many different digital planning tools, and hands down, Notion is my favorite one by far. You can now also create your own custom portrait with Notion Faces, which is a very cute and wonderful way to capture your personality. It's also great if you're working in teams because it makes it really easy to identify your different team members. So this is the daily hub that I use. This is kind of the high level information for everything, and this is where I spend most of my time in Notion. I use this every day to manage my writing and content work, resources, research, all of my to-dos, everything to do with my organization. I've also created a template out of this board, which I'm happy to share with you guys. So if you like the look of this, if you think this will work for you visually, you can download it for free. To get started on Notion for free and to create your own little portrait, please feel free to click the link in the description down below. So by far the hardest writing routine was Octavia E. Butler's. For some reason, waking up at 2 a.m. was the most opposite to my circadian rhythm. Nothing prepares you for 2 a.m. This is, for me, this is silly. The fact that she was getting up at 2 a.m. and writing before going off to her factory work is just incredible to me. Like, I don't know how she did that for so many years. The fact that she was able to do that at all is insane. Now, here's the thing. Octavia E. Butler was the only author on the list who was working full-time in the routine that I tried out. Now, I could have also tried out Sayaka Murata's routine where she was getting up at 2 a.m. for the convenience store work that she did. It would be scientifically redundant to just do the same experiment twice in a row. The routine that gave me the most output in terms of my writing was definitely Brandon Sanderson.
I've written 5 extra novels.
He starts work at 1, he works for about 4 hours, he has a big break to spend time with his family, and then late at night he does another 4 hours of work. When I tried this out, I realized that I could get so much more work done in a day in terms of my writing if I gave myself a really big break in the middle. Now, I'm the type of person that can work for really, really long hours on my writing if I'm in flow state of a project, if I'm kind of in like the no life mode of a project, which is what I get into when I'm at the very end of a draft. I know some of us are like this where we find it really, really hard to get started on tasks, but once we click, I can actively work 5 hours, 8 hours or more, and the quality of my work doesn't tend to go down that much because my brain just likes to concentrate that way. I don't know why I work that way. I also don't tend to have routines personally. That's why I find routines so fascinating, because it's not something that I can tend to stick to. In terms of this like concentration thing that I have, Donna Tartt's mentality of not getting up from the table is also really helpful.
If I've had a hard day, I'll quit, I'll knock off, I'll go do something else. But if I'm on a run, if I'm doing well, I'm like a gambler, I don't want to get up from the table.
And so she'll just keep going until basically she exhausts herself, I assume, which is generally what I do. When I'm writing and it's going really well, the last thing I want to do is pull myself away and stop writing, which has always been a really, really big challenge for me because I'm self-employed and I'm in control of my schedule, and that is dangerous. The award for the most physically taxing of all of these routines definitely goes to Haruki Murakami. Hello, editing Christy here. I 100% take this back. I think I, through trauma, completely forgot about how physically taxing Dan Brown's routine was. By far, that was the worst one. I had back, neck, and chest pain for like 3 or 4 days after doing that routine. In that routine, every hour on the hour I had to do, I think it was 15 push-ups, and I can't do 15 push-ups. I definitely went too hard and it took its physical toll on me, whereas for the running it was really hard, but I am a person who goes running anyway. So Haruki Murakami kind of got me back into running, which is really good, whereas the Dan Brown routine just kind of injured me a bit. And then the most fun routine generally was Sayaka Murata's cafe hopping routine. I loved doing that, especially because I was in Japan at the time. I loved cafe hopping around Tōkyō. I went to the Haruki Murakami room at Waseda University. I went to a Tully's, and I also went to this really beautiful like coffee shop in an antique store. In that video, it was so much fun. I loved doing that. So with all of that in mind, what is the best writing routine? And of course, the best writing routine, just like philosophically, we'll get this out of the way, the best writing routine is whatever writing routine that works for you. I've said this before, that I don't believe that writers should feel forced to write every day. There's no specific rules. Literally, whatever helps you specifically get words on a page, that is the best writing routine. But we're here, we're having fun, we're analyzing different people's behaviors. I'm gonna try out what I think is my ideal writing routine, the best writing routine, the ultimate writing routine for me, which is a Frankenstein's monster of a few of the different concepts. I am going to wake up at 8 a.m. This is the natural time I wake up. I don't want to fight my circadian rhythm anymore. I'm never getting up at 4 a.m. again unless I'm catching a flight somewhere. No, I'm going to have breakfast and then go for an hour-long walk. Now, I've kind of got two versions of this routine. So one will be a version that I would do if I were at home. But for this particular routine, because we're filming a video, I'm going to take this as a nice excuse to go to a cute cafe and film that for you guys. So instead of staying at home after exercising, I'm going to go for my hour-long walk, and then I'm going to go write in a cafe for an hour or two, depending on how busy the cafe is. If it's like terribly busy, I'll move on a bit faster. So the intention there is to ideally work from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then I'd like to walk home if I'm at a cafe, or if this was the version of me like writing at home, that would be me going for another walk. Yes, I like to walk a lot. It's a really, really important part of my mental health, but anyway. And then ideally I'd like to work from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. All of this will be on novel writing for Project Spiegel Tent, and then I'd like to spend my evening reading, playing video games. I just finished Star Wars Fallen Order. I'm on to the second game in the series, and then just generally enjoying my life. This sounds like an ideal kind of day. Let's try it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my absolute ideal routine, my Frankenstein's monster of a perfect writing routine. The very first thing I want to do today is make a decent breakfast. Now, I made a couple of good breakfasts during these routines. I loved the breakfast that I made during the Ursula K. Le Guin routine, but I particularly loved the egg toast that I made during the Hayao Miyazaki creative routine. I've made these before on my channel a few times. Basically, you crack an egg onto some bread, you put some stuff on it, you cook it at 180 degrees in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes, however cooked you want it to be. It's a very, very simple recipe, but it is so good. And today I'm adding some cheese and some onion and of course sriracha mayo to it, because I add sriracha mayo to absolutely everything, and it was so incredibly good. After that, I'm just eating my breakfast and I'm starting to take some notes on the story, because I want to kind of gently start my brain whirring on book writing stuff. I'd like to avoid social media if I can, but yeah, on an ideal day, I'd love to like grab my fountain pen, get out my notebook, and just start jotting down some creative ideas. Hello everyone, small time skip. I'm now ready to go. It is almost 9 a.m. I think after I go for my nice long walk, thank goodness it's not that hot today. We're in summer here in Australia, of course. It's only like 25 degrees today. Thankfully, it's not molten outside, which is really, really good. But I think instead of going to one of the usual cafes I tend to go to when I write, I might actually go to the Central Markets today. Now, the Central Markets are one of my favorite places on this earth. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'll just go and walk to the markets and just walk around the markets aimlessly for a while, because something about that building, about that space is absolutely magical. Like I've now been to a lot of markets in different places in the world, and the Central Markets is genuinely one of my favorite places on this earth, but also one of the most like the most magical market I've ever been to. I love it there so much. So I think maybe I'll get something to drink and sit in a corner at one of the tables for Project Spiegel Tent, the novel that I'm currently working on, which is my magical realism, circusy, performing arts novel. Over the course of the past year has been like pulling teeth, because I am now on submission for my other novel and I had to do all the edits for that, and it's just been really stressful. So Spiegel Tent has taken a while, but basically the first words I wrote of Project Spiegel Tent were in the winter last year. I was having a bad day, I went on a mental health walk and I went to the markets because there's so many different market stalls there, so I just like went to the French one and I got a croque monsieur, like the best like cheesy sandwich ever, and wrote the first few words of this book. And I think as well, because Project Spiegel Tent is set in Adelaide and the markets is such a magical location, I want to fold that into the story somehow as a location. I kind of have an idea, so I think that's where I'm going to go work today, but I need to grab my bag. I need my hat because although it is not that hot today, the UV is still going to be very high. I have my bag, I have my tablet where I'm going to do my writing. Let's go for a nice walk and then to the markets. I'm now just going to zone out and go for a nice walk. Generally, I like to listen to music. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast in Japanese, but today I just listened to the sounds of the birds. It was actually a really beautiful walk today, just wandering around for an hour, trying to keep up a brisk pace even though 25 degrees in the sun is still quite warm. And although summer is my least favorite season by far, because in Adelaide it is absolutely sweltering during the summer. It was very peaceful. There were so many birds around, lots of ducks, lots of bin chickens, ibises, everyone's fave. And then headed over to the central markets. I love, as I said, just wandering around here. It's so magical, it's so whimsical. It's one of those refilling the creative well things for me. Like, I just love that there's a mushroom seller, a cheesemonger. The whole thing feels like a magical fantasy market to me. But anyway, I went to this coffee place and I got an iced chai latte, and then I headed over to the bakery and got a Monte Carlo biscuit, which is based on like an Arnott's Australian biscuit. It's delicious, it's really, really good. And I started working. Now I particularly love this kind of, I don't know, safe white noise. Like, this just felt like a really lovely and comfortable place for me to work. And generally I don't like working in places like malls or places where there's like lots of people around, but here it felt really, really nice and comfortable and I had a really lovely time. So it was really easy for me to concentrate. I started off by doing a bit of editing on the words that I've already written. I'm working really, really well on Project Spiegel Tent, which is amazing. I'm having so much fun with it, but I am also trying to find myself problem solving directions I want to take the story in, and so that's just taking a little bit of time and effort. I'm finding that this technique that I do of basically summarizing what I want to happen in the chapter, I'll just write 5 or 6 dot points and then I kind of just loosely follow that, but like 9 times out of 10 that tends to change. Although if I write down all the dot points, just some of that cognitive load is lifted from me and I just find it a bit less overwhelming to get started. It's been really good getting through this period of writer's block because I've been developing some techniques that I can do to help myself, like get rid of the difficulty of getting started, to get rid of some of that blank page anxiety. But anyway, I worked really, really well, and then I went for a lovely long walk home and then had some lunch, checked some emails. I couldn't avoid work entirely for today. I did my best, but I just did a little bit of stuff in the middle of the day here and then was ready to get started on writing again. It is now time for my second writing session of the day. I'm gonna make myself some tea. I'm gonna have the jasmine tea. So this is this really beautiful jasmine tea. I found it at a lovely little tea shop in Koenji, and the guy at the shop tried to talk me out of getting this one because the tin was like worse of value than getting the actual bag of tea, and I had to be like, sir, I want the pretty tin, like you need to understand this. It's so cute. But yes, I'm gonna make some jasmine tea. Oh my god! We're fine. The lid did not come off as well. Oh, the tin barely even dented. We have the tiniest of dents. Okay, thank you. Thank you for not being worse at dented. Oops. Sorry, my heart is still like beating really quickly because I thought I damaged the tea. I thought it was gonna go everywhere, but no, we're good. It's genuinely fine. What was I about to say? So I'm gonna make some tea. I'm gonna make some jasmine tea. I didn't break anything, don't worry, all is well. Gonna make some jasmine tea. And also I just wanted to quickly update you on my story and how things are going. Project Spiegel Tent is going really, really, really well. And this is the first time I've been able to say that about this story. I feel genuinely great about it. I wrote about, I think like 800 words-ish today. I went back, I did some editing. Yeah, we're currently sitting at about 11,000 words for the story. The first 15,000 words of the story, I really clearly know where I'm going. It's from that kind of 15,000 mark onward that I know where I want the story to go, but I'm a little bit nervous as to which path to take. So I have an idea, but it's probably gonna require some rewriting because I know all of these disparate pieces that I want to be involved, and I know where I want to be by the end of it, but I don't actually know the direction to get to it. It's like I'm doing a little like connect the dots, and I can see all the dots, but I don't know what direction I'm going to end up in. So we'll see how we go. I'll just have some patience for myself. If I have to rewrite a bunch, that's totally cool. But the main point is that I'm concentrating really well on the story. The words are coming easily. I'm finally starting to find this character's voice and understand who she is. This story is told in the first person, and it's the first time I've done a modern first person story. Like, I've done a few first person stories that have been like fairy tale-esque or like an older person's voice, but she is a young woman from Australia, and so trying to find the specifics of what makes her voice unique and to have that voice be informed by her own experiences growing up and her education level and all this stuff. It's just been a bit of a scavenger hunt to try and find what that is, but I'm having a lot of fun. And honestly, the words are coming really easily. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last vlog, but there are also these moments where I have her kind of bickering with co-workers, and some of these little miniature conflicts that I have been quite fun and entertaining to write, and so I'm enjoying that. Yeah, overall it's going really, really well. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm so absolutely thrilled that I can finally tell you guys that my writer's block is gone. I am good, but I'm just hopeful that as I get to the sort of 20,000 to oh, okay, no, this story is smaller, let's keep in mind. As I get to the 20,000 to 40,000 word mark, I'm a little bit nervous because I have a very clear picture for the beginning, I have a very clear picture for the end. I know what I want to do with the middle, I've just got to problem solve. It is now 7:37 p.m. and this ideal ultimate writing routine is all done for the day. It was a lovely day, dare say. The ideal day, it's almost as if I designed it. Writing at the markets was a beautiful place to write. I really loved that kind of white noise of having enough people around you so that everyone's voices just kind of melt and merge together. I loved the walking, I loved coming home and doing more work. After taking a bit of a break, I thought that was perfect. In the end today, it's kind of hard to work out how much I wrote, so I think the document's sitting at like 12,000, maybe almost 13,000 words. I don't know, I deleted a whole bunch of stuff, I edited a whole bunch of stuff. I might need to go back and redo a bunch of work on the chapter that I did today, just because I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to move into this next section of the story. I've had such a lovely time trying out all these different writing routines. I'm so fascinated by human behavior and the things that people think they need in order to write. Like, I very much personally feel that I don't really, like, I'm gonna write no matter where I am. I'm the kind of person who doesn't really need anything specific in order to write. Like, I don't need a favorite chair, pen, music playing. Like, there are so many different contexts in which I write. I really enjoy writing on public transport. My favorite place ever to write is probably like on a train going through the countryside. I think that's such a lovely place to write a story. I also really love sitting outside so that I have like the fresh air. That's probably a thing that I feel though, because I live in an apartment where the windows don't open, so it's like constantly stuffy in here. But yeah, it's been an amazing experiment. I really, really enjoyed trying out all these writers' routines. I really love especially how many of the authors put physical movement into their routines. Getting out and walking and being physically active is vital not only to my mental health but also to my creativity. Sometimes it's just nice to zone out and give yourself a bit of a break during a creative work day and go for a nice walk. And you know, not everyone lives in a walkable city. I feel really, really, really lucky to live in Adelaide because it's a beautifully walkable city. But yes, to summarize, I don't have like a big, huge, grand discovery, except for the fact that the most important writing routine is whatever you personally need to get words on a page consistently. If that's you writing every Thursday night for 2 hours and you do that every week, or if that's you like typing like on the bus on the way to work. I used to write back when I worked full-time very early in the morning at 5 a.m. As you guys know, I don't like getting up early, so that was a really exhausting time in my life because I used to get up at 5 a.m. I mean, so technically, I've tried 14 writing routines. I had my own writing routine video and it's still my most popular video on this channel. But yeah, I used to get up at 5 a.m, write for an hour or an hour and a half, go off to my 9 to 5, come home, edit YouTube videos. And that was my routine for quite a while. Ever since the self-employment started, I've had no routine. I'm incapable of having a routine. I think that if I were to have a routine, the one that I tried out today would probably be something around what it would look like, again, if I were a person to have a routine, which I really don't think I am, but never say never. Before I go, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting my videos. As a thank you to my patrons, I have a whole bunch of bonus content over there, writing updates, our book club, our Discord server. Every month I post a bespoke video that people vote on, so this past month it was a kind of like average work day in my life. So if you'd like to check out Patreon, there's a link in the description down below. Take care everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.